Now, Bangladesh President Muhammad has appointed Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus as interim government head following Prime Minister Hasina's resignation and flight to India. Yunus, who urged calm and rapid elections, is coming back from Paris and also faces legal issues in his country. The army chief is assured that all sections of society will support the head of the interim government. DD India's Syed Absarul Hassan puts things into perspective.
Bangladesh President Muhammad Shahabuddin has appointed Nobel Peace Prize laureate Muhammad Yunus as head of the interim government after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned on Monday and left the country following a violent crackdown on a student-led uprising. Yunus, who was recommended by student leaders, stated that the remaining members need to be finalized soon to overcome the current crisis and pave way for elections. Student leaders have demanded that elections be held within 3 months. While congratulating students for leading the movement, Nobel laureate urged the countrymen to remain calm and make the best use of this new victory, which he termed the second Liberation Day in the history of Bangladesh. Yunus was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his work on microfinancing. Yunus, who was in Paris for treatment, has left for Bangladesh. He is facing several cases in the country. A court in Bangladesh on Wednesday overturned his conviction in a case related to labour law violations for which he had been sentenced to 6 months in jail. He was released on bail.
Just I'm looking forward to going back home and see what's happening there and how we can organize ourselves to get out of the trouble that we are in.
Bangladesh Army Chief General Waqar-uz-Zama in a statement on Wednesday said full interim government will be sworn in by Thursday. He mentioned that the army is working on restoring the country's police forces. He also assured that interim government headed by Yunus will receive full support and assistance from all sections. A day after freed from house arrest, Bangladeshi opposition leader Khaleda Zia made a virtual speech at Dhaka rally on Wednesday. She vowed to make the country prosperous again.
This victory has brought new opportunities for us. The corruption that has been ongoing in the country for so many days was ignored by the government. Amid all this, we must make Bangladesh prosperous again.
Well, good afternoon, everyone.
Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that United States has been watching the situation very closely and that any decisions made by the interim government must respect democratic principles, uphold the rule of law, and reflect the will of the people.
That any decisions that the interim government makes need to respect democratic principles, need to uphold the rule of law, reflect the will of the people.
After the chaos on Monday, normalcy is now slowly returning as garment factories reopened on Wednesday, hoping to swiftly resume full operations after production was disrupted by violent protests. Syed Absarul Hassan's report for DD India.
Let me now take you across to DD India's Naval Singh Parmar, who has been tracking all the developments very closely in Bangladesh. Good evening to you. Naval, what is the state of affairs in Bangladesh right now?
In Dhaka and other parts of Bangladesh, yesterday morning, 6 p.m., curfew lifted. Then after traffic were welcomed by the army chief and he asked countrymen to start your routine lives normally. But there were apprehension among the people in first half of the yesterday, and there were very less traffic on the streets and roads of Dhaka and other parts of Bangladesh. But yesterday, from yesterday evening, situation is coming under control. Not it is a normal, but it is now control. And there are many incidents which are being reported from the different parts of the Bangladesh. That there are some incidents of violence, vandalization that is happening against the party worker of Israel ruling party, party activists and their leaders. And second thing, there were an absence of police in last 2.5 days on the street clubs
We seem to have lost that link with Naval Singh Parmar. We'll try and reconnect as and when it's possible. For the moment, let me now bring in our guest, our expert guest on the subject. Vina Secri is now joining us, former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh. Good evening to you, Ms. Secri. What do you make of what's been happening in Bangladesh and which way are things headed with now Muhammad Yunus set to lead the interim government swearing in supposed to take place tomorrow in the evening?
Yes, I think in my view, the situation in Bangladesh is a source of worry because one doesn't know how this so-called transfer of power is taking place. In a constitutional democracy, the USP is a peaceful transfer of power, peaceful change. But here it has happened through what has been described as a student reform movement for quota reform, but actually that student quota reform was something supported by Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, and she was the one who abolished the quotas for the students. So it was completely peaceful in Dhaka right till the 15th of July because even though the High Court has overturned the decision of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, she appealed to the Supreme Court, and some of the student groups actually supported her in that appeal. But of course, with some violence taking place, I think the Jamaat-e-Islami student wing, Islami Chhatra Shibir, and the BNP student wing, they all got into the act and they've completely hijacked what was a very peaceful student protest and have taken over the situation. And that is what has forced Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to resign and leave the country. Now, of course, you are right that Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus, Nobel laureate, and he's been asked to head the interim government. But I do not know what is the sense of unity and what is the sense of support that is across, because we saw today in Bangladesh the speech by Begum Khaleda Zia, the NP leader. But the thought was that Begum Khaleda Zia's son, who has been in exile in UK for 50 years, would also be there, or at least would be allowed to address the conference, but that did not happen. So there is this kind of strange working behind the scenes that is going on there. It's very strange working behind the scenes that is going on there. And one doesn't know who will be really the party in control. While the Jamaat-e-Islami is clearly in control at this point in time, they are making a lot of new appointments in the army and in the police and all across in other sectors. So again, this is without any authority, this is without any kind of the constitutional mechanisms that are there in any democracy. So this is taking place on its own. Now, what will be the impact down the line? And outside Dhaka, even though the reports that you have seen show a return to normalcy in Dhaka, outside Dhaka there's an enormous amount of violence. The Hindu minorities are being attacked indiscriminately. Many have been lynched and killed and hung up in the most cruel manner imaginable.
Yes, we've not put out those images. We've sort of self-censored us because they're very disturbing, could be inflammatory as well, but they're most disturbing. But if we talk about the way forward, what is the fact that you have Muhammad Yunus accepting the job that was essentially given to him by the students in a way, and that's been accepted by the army and the president in consultation with others? We don't know who they all are, but what does that tell us, which way are things headed?
Well, I must say about Professor Muhammad Yunus, I do know him. He's a very fine person. He has, even inaugurated my South Asian Women's Network many years ago. But Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus tried this exact post 15 years ago in 2007 and 8. Actually, at that time, there was an army-backed caretaker government, and the effort was to make him the head of the interim government at that time. But it didn't work because he wanted to start a political party. There was no resistance from the grass level, and so he gave up on politics. But now he's back again. So who has he been appointed by? Yes, you're saying it's the students, but the discussion all across is that he has the support of the Western governments. And there is the discussion is the role of China in this. The Jamaat-e-Islami, the connectivity with Pakistan. We saw the statement made by the government of Pakistan today. So I think getting behind what is happening is a matter of some importance, because there is also discussion in Bangladesh today that, yes, you talked about, what was the last election like? But the discussion in Bangladesh is, when will the next election take place? After 3 years or after 6 years? So I do not know to what extent you're going to have a return to full democracy in
Will
Bangladesh.
we have a clearer picture if we get to see who all are sworn in along with Muhammad Yunus as well tomorrow in the evening?
Well, at the moment, the swearing in tomorrow evening, I think will be just Professor Dr. Muhammad Yunus, because he's the head of the interim government. So far, there is no agreement or no agreement which has been conveyed to the outside world about who the other members of the interim government are going to be. And although there is a suspected list already ready created by the Jamaat-e-Islami, there is some talk that there will be some discussion with Professor Muhammad Yunus once he is back in Dhaka. So we do not know yet at all about the composition of the interim government and what will the responsibilities be, who will the people be in charge of the various areas of work. So I think that this is all a matter to be seen yet, and I think there is some return to normalcy in the factories around Dhaka, but outside, again, as I would say, there is so much chaos. The first-hand report we're getting about the chaos outside Dhaka, I don't know how long that will take, and when it does happen, what will there be? Because you're having the police is not present at all. The police is not present. They are on some kind of strike. Even at the border with India, we do not know how much of it the BJP is guarding, how much of it is now unguarded. So there is worry there about, India is very worried about people trying to come in, and there's a 200-meter curfew being observed all along the Indian border on the Indian side. So there are a lot of elements of uncertainty, and of course the whole issue of trade with India, the whole issue of how will that resume, the supply lines, the Indian Cultural Center in Dhaka has been completely vandalized and burned. So one worries about who has done all this. Who has done all this? I mean, the fact that you bring in you break down the statue of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Muhammad Yunus himself calling it a second liberation. So second liberation from what? Second liberation from the first liberation war. So, there are a lot of uncertainties and, questions about the directions and the respect for history in the past of the creation of Bangladesh. And let's say you've seen the visuals of the destruction of the Indian Cultural Center. It's been reduced to a complete shambles. Now,
Yes.
who did this? Who did this? And there's been an evacuation of the Indian High Commission. All non-essential staff has been sent back.
Well, we'll perhaps have to wait for order to first return to be able to figure out an answer to these questions and see if anyone is ever held accountable for all that has gone on these past few days. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Vina Secri, because India's position remains unchanged. It's highly concerned about what's happening till a more certain picture emerges. That hasn't really changed from yesterday.